Good morning, everyone. Mabel, do you want to do roll call?
I hope I had a choice. Okay. Acadia,
Present by proxy.
Acadia 2, absent. Andover A, absent. Andover B,
Present by proxy.
Andover E, absent. Andover F,
Present by proxy.
Andover G, absent. Andover H, absent. Andover I,
Present by proxy.
Bedford A,
Present by proxy.
Bedford B, absent. Bedford C,
Present by proxy.
Bedford D, absent. Bedford E, absent. Bedford F, absent. Bedford G,
Present by proxy.
Bedford H,
Present by proxy.
Bedford J, absent. Cambridge A,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge B,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge C,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge E,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge F,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge H, absent. Cambridge I, absent. Cambridge J, absent. Cambridge K,
Present by proxy.
Cambridge L, absent. Canton Court D,
Present by proxy.
Corinth,
Present by proxy.
Devonshire,
Present by proxy.
Dorchester A,
Present by proxy.
Dorchester B,
Present by proxy.
Dorchester C,
Present by proxy.
Dorchester D, absent. Fairborn,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield A,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield C,
Present by prox. What about there?
Fairfield B is here, right? No.
Absent.
Fairfield B, absent. Fairfield C,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield D,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield E,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield F, absent. Fairfield G,
Present by proxy.
Fairfield H, absent. Gloucester A, absent. Gloucester C, absent. Gloucester D,
Present by proxy.
Gloucester E,
Present by proxy.
Gloucester F, absent. Gloucester G, absent. Gloucester H, absent. Gloucester J, absent. Gloucester K,
Present by proxy.
Gloucester L,
Present by proxy.
Gloucester M,
Present by proxy.
Gloucester N, absent. Highgate A, yeah. Highgate,
Present by proxy.
Highgate B, absent. Highgate D,
Present by proxy.
Highgate E, absent. Highgate F,
Present by proxy.
Highgate 2, absent. Highgate 3, absent. Highgate 4,
Present by proxy.
Huntington, absent. Idlewood, absent. Inverness,
Present by proxy.
Jameson,
Present by proxy.
Knowles 1, absent. Knowles 2, absent. Knowles 3, absent. Lancaster 2,
Present by proxy.
Lancaster 3,
Present by proxy.
Lancaster 4, absent. Lyndhurst,
Present by proxy.
Manchester 1, absent. Manchester 3, absent. Manchester 4,
Present by proxy.
Maplewood,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 1,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 3,
Present by proxy.
Nantucket 5, absent. Oxford 2,
Present by proxy.
Portsmouth, absent. Princeton, absent. Quail Pass, absent. Radisson 1, absent. Radisson 2,
Present by proxy.
Richmond,
Present by proxy.
Somerset, absent. Southampton 1,
Present by proxy.
Tremont 1,
Present by proxy.
Tremont 2,
Present by proxy.
Villeroy,
Present by proxy.
Yorkshire, absent.
Worthington.
Worthington,
Present by proxy. And Yorkshire is
absent. Mr. President, you have a 67.1% units represented with 3,706 with 69 association. And you have a quorum.
And I'll call the meeting to order. We please rise for pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Before we begin the meeting, I would like to remind all those in attendance that it is a requirement of the land trust that you must wear your mask while in the building unless you are speaking. So for anyone who does not have their mask on, would they please put their mask on? That takes us to the approval of the minutes.
And
I will refer to Janice.
before we approve the minutes, we had a correction under new business, letter C, approval of a one-year contract for down-to-earth landscaping for section 2. The correction should be Jill Clays, president of Highgate C, moved that the down-to-earth section 2 contract have a motion for approval. The motion was seconded. There was no discussion. President Davidson called the question, and the rest of it's okay.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Rick. Can I have a second? Thank you. Do you want to take roll call, or is there any objection that anyone has to the minutes? Are there any objection by proxies to the minutes?
No.
Then instead of taking the time to go through a entire roll call and have everyone say yes, we will, without objection, approve the minutes. That takes us to our management reports, and I will turn it over to Keith to give his management report. And remember, Keith, so people on the phone can hear you, you have to give your management report from up here.
Good morning. How are you doing? This is the first service management report for April 16th membership meeting. I'm gonna just, I guess.
Will you take it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jim.
Sorry.
Sorry. Got two clickers. We're just gonna run through quickly the financials. For this month that you're gonna be receiving are gonna be the year-end financials for last year. So they are being additionally reviewed by the First Service corporate office. So there's a couple extra days in there for checks. So if you haven't received yours yet, there's probably about 20 left to do to get reviewed, but we'll have all those out Monday afternoon, and it will meet the 21st deadline for sure. Again, we're still following COVID procedures for our office, so we again appreciate everybody's continued efforts and patience with following these guidelines when they enter the office. And again, we have the new drop box outside in the parking lot, so there are a couple of new signs on it. Encourage everybody that needs to just drop off payments, any kind of forms in there, please utilize that box. It is checked multiple times a day again, so let your owners know if they have any questions on that. Quickly again, because these are, we talked about these a few times already, but I'll just kind of quickly go over some of these stats for the office. Again, for transfers for the month of March, we did 59 transfers, those are sales applications. We did 37 leases. Just over 4,000 phone calls were taken in the month of March, did 624 pest control appointments, and had approximately 1,300 walk-ins into the office. Again, quickly, we ran through all the annual meetings and all the budgets are completed. There has been several owners complaining about not receiving their coupon books. If you have any owners that have not received theirs yet, we've had some complaints about not getting them, either the mail, any kind of delivery, but just let us know, have those folks call into the office and talk to Susan Greenup, and we will get a new booklet ordered or be able to come up with a solution that best fits that owner, or try to get them on ClickPay, either way. So just have them call in if they're asking any questions on the coupon books. Again, insurance, we are all wrapped up for the new insurance policies. Everything is signed, sealed, delivered. We will be uploading those new policies in the next 45 days after USI gets them in from the carriers. They'll review them for accuracies, and then they'll end up sending them over to us. We will then turn those and upload those into the Connect system online, So each individual association will have those available to them at any time. Quickly down at the bottom, the Community Promotions Committee is still working diligently on updating the Kings Point website. So there's some good things coming from that committee, and hopefully we'll see some progress in the next several weeks on that. Quickly, landscaping again, the down to earth contracts from last month's meeting have been approved, so the new contracts for down to earth are in place for 1 more year. Again, this lines up all 4 contracts to be renewed next April. Next OLM inspections are 2 weeks from now, April 26th, 27th, and 28th. Again, we encourage if there's any POCs or presidents that want to come around for the walk-arounds, just let us know, and we'll be happy to meet anybody out there for your specific section or association, and have Paul and Ryan review any concerns you have during those inspections. Brown Street contract is in full swing. They've made their way through section 1 already, doing the oak tree and hardwood trimmings. So far, it's turned out really, really well. They're doing additional lifting and pulling bigger branches, more elevation, more deadwood clean out inside the trees. So you're going to see a vast improvement as they continue their way through the community. They're in section 2 now. It's their second day in there. They'll be in there hopefully over the next 10 working days, and then we'll keep progressing through the schedule, and we'll keep trying to update all the owners as much as possible as that schedule changes. And any presidents here, if you have any tree concerns, the tree committee met earlier this week. I think it was a really, really good meeting. Appreciate the committee members being there, and we're going to be sending out some additional information on bulk tree prices for all the associations to assist with you if you need to take out a palm tree, if you need any trees removed, any kind of other tree work. We're going to do a bulk price from Brown's just to have those options and figures out to you at any time, and it will help speed up any work that you desire to do. And lastly, the mulch survey, we did send out those results over the next couple of weeks. The landscape committee will be continuing to review those with us, and we'll be presenting something to the board, and hopefully in the month of May we'll be presenting a new plan and being approved by the membership. Again, there's going to be some good changes coming from this. There's still a bunch of options for mulch. So a lot more to come on this, a lot of good things coming on this. Lastly, again, work orders. Any issues on your properties, have your POC or the president email us the work order. We'll get it right into Brian, we'll get it tracked. Month of March, we had 17 total work orders submitted. Average turnaround time was about four days. And lastly, a couple reminders. We've been through the emergency contact. Just let your owners know if they have anything going on, even if it's during the day, especially with a water leak, something inside their unit that's affecting the common elements of your association. Please make sure that they contact the board and they contact the manager. We will be out right away to take photos and get all that documented and assist with that process, either help getting a plumber out, a remediation company, taking documentation for the insurance claim if needed, or in this case, maybe the insurance deductible claim. So just make sure you're communicating to your owners to contact somebody, especially the board or the management company first, just so we can assist and get our hands on that before it gets down the road with either a really, really bad remediation company that might take advantage of the situation, or just waiting weeks on end and then tell the board, oh hey, there was an accident in here. So just trying to help educate and get stuff brought up to speed so we're not all lagging behind. So if anything you can do to help with us, that'd be great. And again, it just helps us clean up that process and get everything taken care of. And that is all I had. Any questions?
That's just what I was going to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Then we will turn to the Esta management report for the land trust.
Good morning. Keith, are you? And there you go. Okay. We'll start with Clubhouse usage. As you can see here, for the total usage for March, we had over 31,000 visits, just over 1,000 a day. 41% increase over the prior. I'm going to keep pointing those out to you because you can see where people are getting more comfortable and coming out and using the facilities. You can see the breakdown there between the main club and the South Club, neck and neck, about 40% of the usage. Next slide. Fitness usage for March, you can see there, I won't read all the numbers, but the total gym usage over 6,600 visits. We had 31% of the visits at the South Club gym, and 7 orientations. The reason I point out the orientation is that these are new people who haven't used the gym before that come in and get training. So it's not like it's the same old crowd. We're always constantly seeing new people interested in using the fitness facility. And that is a 27% increase overall from the prior month. You can see great increases in water and land class usage there. Of course, as the temperatures warm up, folks flock out to get into the beautiful pools. And then the very bottom line there, fitness use for the 2020-2021 year, over 51,000 visits. Very small number for us, looks like a big number, but that's about 1/3 of what we would normally do in a pre-COVID year. Next slide. On spa and salon usage, you can see again a 26% increase over the prior month, over 21,600 for the services. Year-end usage, very impressive here, over 7,000 services performed, 211,000 in the sales, but that's a 36% decrease over prior year. But that area of the community, people felt very safe and secure using that, and as I always say, hell hath no fury like a woman who can't get her hair and her nails done. So people were coming out and using the spa or the salon. Slide. Food and beverage. You can see these numbers. We did have a nice increase in March over the prior month. The pickup service is still 26% of the total usage, serving 6,300 patrons in March. The total food and alcohol sales for the month of March, you can see that was a huge increase, 57% over the prior month. And the total usage for the 2020-21 year served over 47,000 residents, and the sales 516,000. That's about half, or a little less than half of what we would normally do in a regular year. So it gives you a nice perspective on the impact of COVID, as though you aren't wildly aware of that. Going to projects, these are 2021 projects remaining. We have the main clubhouse and South Club surveillance camera systems. That's still being done. It was initiated in the proper year, but we've got some IT folks doing their cabling and programming on that project. The theater sound system project is scheduled to begin on June 15th. It'll take approximately 10 business days to complete. We won't have functions in here that need sound. And keep in mind, this is the original sound system from decades and decades ago. The moisture intrusion testing, I look forward to the day I don't have to say moisture in my reports. It just never goes away. We had a mechanical engineer walk the property, and he just declined to bid on it. It's a complicated thing to follow where water is in foundations. So we're, I think, seeking out an additional mechanical engineer. Victoria's got her hands full with that project, and we'll let you know how that's going. Keith, I'm going to read something. You can advance the slide, but this isn't on the slide, but this is something I wanted to note, that on the pool deck resurfacing project that had been done prior, we do have a partial pool closure on Monday. The reason for this is we have some lifting of the new deck. It's deterioration and age of the base concrete pool deck underneath it that the bond coat has been adhered to and is chipping off there. It was most of the deck, a lot of the deck, where they had the most concern was grinded down, but this is just an area back by the red shade structure. It's all under warranty, it's being taken care of, but we want it to adhere and stick and be sustainable. So that will be closed. It looks like the max here they're assuming is 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. I'm sorry, this is just hot off the presses, these notes coming in, so just wanted to address that because people said, we just had that deck done, what's the problem? Well, there's some areas that didn't adhere as well as we'd like, so we're getting those fixed. Okay, now on to the 21-22 projects. Main clubhouse indoor pool deck resurfacing scheduled to begin on April 29th. The exterior painting at the South Club is almost completed. We're doing some final punching on that. The roof replacement, as I understand it, is scheduled to begin next week, April 22nd, weather notwithstanding. That's a scary number there, taking 120 days to full completion. I thought, my God, you can send a man to the moon in that amount of time. But she said they wanted to be as generous as possible so that we didn't, I guess, under-deliver. But they hope, again, with Florida rains coming, that we can get it done prior to that. And then the South Club deck expansion project. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, architects, mechanical engineers, plumbing. I saw a report coming out from the F&B specialist about having to cover up the grill area. The lines that run through to the beer have to be within a certain insulated area, or the beer will get warm and your beer will be foamy if we don't fix that problem. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We'll be discussing that more with the RFEC in the months to come. Next slide. On transportation, you can see here the March operations, but real notable is the annual mileage, almost 25,000 miles, and ridership, 17,417 residents use that service. So it was, I say residents, rides on the service, and it was really critical during the COVID period for folks that don't have the ability to get out and on their own. So that was a vital service, and that team was wonderful and dedicated to their client base there. In security, won't read all these numbers here, but the year end, you've got just shy of 120,000 phone calls came in. Believe it or not, that's a decrease over prior year. Passes issued, not much of a decrease. That was an interesting number to see there. And then, of course, the patrols were out and about as normal, always watching in the neighborhood while you're sleeping at night. And a decrease in incident reports of being called to the homes. Finally, on the security notables, noticed a major increase in the traffic at both gates during the month of March. This just confirms everything else my report has indicated, that people are out and about, family members are visiting, road patrol has observed increased number of walkers and bikers, etc. During the month of March, over 5,100 swipes at the golf cart gate. And then finally, on the COVID update, this e-blast has already been out, so I have put this up on the screen just to note that these communications were sent out. If you haven't seen them, you can email the offices and we will forward you a copy of them, but they will occur in mid-April with some changes happening on June 1st. The June 1st date, there's no magic to that, but we have to come up with some type of plan, and the date uses the assumption that the residents who are 55 and over have had ample time to obtain their first and second dose if they choose to do that. And it also provides for you all to have advance notice because you have plans with family and guests. But in essence, all the facilities, the main club, the South Club, and 2020, the temperature taking will be discontinued. We'll have ID scanning discontinued at the entries. I've had a couple of people say, well, why are you stopping that? Well, we're going to get back to the security guards roaming and not being dedicated just to a door. Non-Kings Point Club members will be allowed to participate in their Kings Point clubs beginning on Tuesday, June 1st. Capacity limitations will remain in place until further notice. If you're not sure of the capacity of your room, you can get with the business offices and they'll let you know. Medium and large indoor gatherings without adequate social distancing is still not permitted per CDC recommendations. With regard to the pools, effective Monday, April 19th, they will be operating at full capacities. The Tuesday, June 1st, Kings Point resident guests will be permitted to use the pools during the hours of 1 p.m. until close. And reminder, all guests 18 and older must have a valid guest pass. People may think, oh my gosh, we're allowing guests, but keep in mind that is the slowest period of time within Kings Point. We're not reaching capacity now, and certainly by June we won't, and that is probably the number one request we have had is when can I have my friends or my family back to visit with me. And all my efficiencies, Keith, slide. I did not print this slide out, so I'm not going to read through all of this. If anybody has any questions on these, and I apologize, I missed that on this slide for the board, but this is just the fitness, that they are no longer having reservations for fitness, except you do need reservations for your fitness classes. Main Clubhouse, we're going to be bringing back some movies and other socially distancing programs, so stay tuned for that. Snacks and refreshments will be allowed. You can bring in a birthday cake or something if you've booked a room and enjoying that with your friends. Karaoke and trivia will increase to 100 Kings Point residents. I think they did about 60, what was it, Matt, 65, 67 last night, but at no time was there more than, I think, 46 in the room at one time. So we think that's totally doable, and we can do that in a safe capacity. And then beginning June 1st, guests will be able to use the South Club. And bus trips, we are speaking to the vendors about what trips we can do with them and get that started. So slowly, we internally call it the Great Awakening. We're slowly starting to get back to some sense of normalcy. So that's my report, and I hope you all are well and have a great weekend.
Don't leave yet. Matt, you're up in the bleachers, correct? Vesta sent out, and let me give you a little background. Last month, the Master, the Federation, and Vesta met with the new CEO of South Bay Hospital. At that time, all three of us offered to South Bay Hospital that if they did receive additional vaccines as they expanded the age, that we would be more than willing, due to the kudos that we received, and I'm speaking of the community when I say we, received on the way we ran the vaccine operation within Kings Point, that we would be glad to offer Kings Point for providing those vaccinations. We were notified, and Matt and Ginger and Mike Bardell and Officer Mary met with the hospital a few weeks ago. They advised us that they did receive additional vaccines, and Vesta sent out a notice for April 22nd for additional vaccinations. I know that he has over at least 100 residents. Do you know what the number is of residents in Kings Point, Matt? And I'm not trying to just cut you off guard.
It's approximately 100.
Okay.
That's still holding.
So you understand that we are making ourselves available to do this for the hospital in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department for Traffic Control and the Emergency Squad and CERT. And I know Mike Bardell is in the room, and Mike, I'd like to thank you for your willingness to work with the community and the hospital in getting these vaccinations. Understand that these vaccinations are available to different communities around Kings Point, so we will have people coming into Kings Point to get their vaccinations. It starts at the age of 18 with proper identification and proper sign-up. It is through the reservation system that Kings Point has. And Matt, you have notified other communities surrounding Kings Point of the availability for them to sign up. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I just want, if you know anybody in Kings Point that wants a vaccine or was not able to obtain a vaccine earlier, please let them go on to the website so they can sign up for the vaccination. If I remember correctly, what you need, Matt, and you can correct me, is you need your name, your email address, your telephone number, and your birth date to sign up. That's correct? And I want to extend my appreciation to Vesta. This is a large undertaking to put this all together, and a hospitality will be provided. This is being put on by the hospital with the assistance of the emergency squad. A great deal of gratitude goes to Vesta and to the emergency squad and the different volunteers that will be working on this project. And while Ginger was standing up here, I want to thank you for working with the Master and the Federation of allowing us to make that offer to the hospital for the use of Kings Point to provide the vaccination. So thank you, Ginger, and I appreciate it. And Matt, thank you for putting this together and working with the different groups on it.
Jack, you mentioned to the audience here, if you haven't know any Kings Point residents, actually if you know anybody, if you have family, if you have friends, it is open to the public. If they haven't been able to get one in Tampa or whatever, they can come in and do that. So for those residents on that day, remember it will be a very busy area up here. You won't be able to come in the clubhouse in the front door. Same thing as we had before.
Vicki?
Do you know which vaccine they're going to be doing?
It'll be the Moderna vaccine.
Okay, that's a two.
It's a two-shot process.
28 days later will be the
So
next
for
one.
those people who've received the first shot and they prefer to get their second one here, can they do that? Or is it just get the first one and then the second one later?
I'm going to look back to Matt to answer that question.
So are you asking if somebody got the Moderna first one somewhere else?
And they want to get their second one.
I actually had the conversation with the hospital yesterday, and they are trying to get clarification for us. They would like to do it if they have capacity to do it. They've been given 1,000 doses for each session, and if they can do it, they will, and we can publicize that. It's a good question.
Just so you, for the video, what Matt said is the hospital is currently checking to see if a person who received a Moderna vaccine at another location and they wanted to get their second shot here, whether they could. Matt is clarifying that. And if that is the case, I'm quite sure Matt will be notifying the community of that. And I noticed there was another question.
Matt, the people, when they do register, will they get an email with the application or the form that they have to have filled out?
That is correct. It'll come from HCA. It'll be a 7-portion questionnaire. They were having difficulty on the back end with their system, but they will be sending that out. I spoke to them about that again yesterday. But the answer is yes.
Thank you.
And for those of you who didn't hear Matt, they will get an email. I believe that email is coming from the hospital services and not from Vesta. That's why your email is very important. It will not be, to my understanding and having conversations with Matt, the exact same form that we filled out. The hospital is asking for additional information or revise the form to meet their standards. And if you don't get that, and I would only ask Matt to make sure to the residents that have signed up that he sends them a reminder, because that notification and access to the form, which is filled out digitally, should be received within 72 hours after you register. Correct, Matt? Thank you. And there is a phone number to call, and it is not the Vesta office, no offense. It is the hospital, correct, Matt? They have it set up in case you did not get the form or a confirmation email, and they will be able to ensure that you get the necessary forms so you'll be prepared on the 22nd. And Vicki, you have another question?
Yes, the other question is to Ginger about room capacities. Are those room capacities based on the CDC's previous 6-foot rule or the current 3-foot rule?
Matt, you've been working with the business office
They
on
haven't
approving
changed, so
this.
they were based on the 6-foot rule.
6 foot.
They will stay at the 6-foot rule.
Is there a reason for that, since the CDC is saying 3 foot now?
I think we weren't changing those. We've changed a lot. We're adding in, we're gonna, we can always keep adjusting as we go. The board wanted us to be conscientious, not get too excited. There is some mutations of the virus out there. As some of you are aware, they have seen cases rising. So we're just trying to stay with what we felt was safe and functional, and it isn't impacting. We don't have a lot of people coming in saying, hey, I want twice the amount of people in this room so far. And of course, going into summer, it's going to be lower occupancies anyway, but if the world levels out and we get a better feel for it, we'll change those, yes.
Just understand that between the Federation, who has the responsibility of overseeing the land trust, and Esta, who manages the land trust, we are attempting to open Kings Point as quickly and as safely as possible. I know that other areas may be opening up bingo as a club, but if you've read their notifications, that opening is not to anyone from the outside. We basically, as Ginger said, looked at the availability of guests. With the first dose of Moderna and other residents within the community getting vaccinated either within Kings Point or outside, and their second dose not available till May 20th, that we believe that picking the date of June 1st would allow many of the residents. When we did the vaccine, that had a projection that approximately at that time, at the beginning of April, the end of March, that approximately 40% of the residents, and that probably has inched up a little, am I correct, Matt? But we still don't have the majority of residents within Kings Point having been vaccinated. So we are doing a methodical opening. The one thing that was mentioned in the opening, and Ginger didn't mention it, maybe it was on the slide and I didn't see it, is Ginger is making plans to do movies in the theater again and opening those up with the capacity constraints required within the theater. But that is in her plans. She just can't snap her fingers and all of a sudden have a movie available to project or have people attend, along with other functions that she is working on doing and Vesta is working on doing with the land trust. Am I correct, Ginger?
Yes.
All right. We would hope, and I'm going to say this with tongue in cheek because don't say, well, you said. The Federation Board and Ginger have talked about possibly a September 1st full opening. We don't know what's going to happen over June, July, and August, but if we can fully return to operations in September, that is what we are looking forward to. Hopefully that is what we can accomplish, and hopefully it'll answer everybody, but when do you ever expect opening Kings Point up fully? We are looking to go back to a lot of normal operations, depending on how things go, September 1st or shortly thereafter. And that is just giving you a little idea of what we are thinking and where we're going with it. Any questions regarding that? What was the question? Zumba coming back? Is that what you asked?
I believe one of the slides said, look forward to more fitness classes as well. Also, Vicki, after you ask your question, I have text zinging in coming in hot about the 3 foot is what they believe was designated for schools, not public places, but, extrapolate out, it could be considered, but yes. We're working as much as we can to do what we can and feel like we look at all, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, folks, but you got to understand we pretty much live and breathe this 24 hours a day and have for over a year now. We know our customer, we know you all, and we know what you like to do, and we're dying to get you back to doing what you love to do, but we also have to be conscientious and make the best judgment we can, and not all sizes fit all situations. So bear with us, but we are opening up slowly, and hopefully, like he said, by the end of the summer, we'll be back to normal.
Any other questions? Preston, I know you're there and you had signed up for open forum on the reopening at Kings Point. Did you still want to speak to it, or did we basically answer some of your questions or concerns that you may have had?
Preston True, one director. I probably am in the minority here because I know everybody's chomping at the bit to reopen, but I'm based a lot of my input on statistics, and when I look in the paper and see that Florida is, I believe the last figure in the paper was 9.9. Hillsborough is 9. And CDC guidelines are that you be below 5 for 2 weeks. I think we're going in the wrong direction here, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to boo me down for that, but we just can't be too careful when you're dealing with human lives. And everybody's chomping at the bit to reopen, but we've got these dangerous viruses out there that are coming around, and we really, I don't think the doctors can fully guarantee that the inoculations may hold up for those. So, I just sort of question the rush to reopen. I understand, that why people are
Preston,
anxious.
I can only say to you, and this is an ongoing conversation that Vesta and the Federation have is overseeing the land trust. We're damned if we do, and we damned if we don't. There are many people in this community that believe Kings Point should not be open to the degree it is. There are many people who want it open entirely. We are trying to do it in a slowly progressive manner. People have the choice of whether to attend certain functions that are open or not. There are people that want to attend those functions. There are people that want to attend karaoke, that want to do trivia, that want to go back to some normal activities, and we are attempting to do it in a methodical manner with an eye on what is going on in the county and what is going on in the state. We are hopeful, and I will tell you, the majority of the plan in reopening Kings Point has been put together by Vesta with Matt and Ginger and Rudy and the management team, and talking to the Federation board about it, and we've had some extensive conversations. It is our intention to continue to watch what is happening and where the testing is. I think that Kings Point has basically been very fortunate with the coronavirus with our residents within Kings Point. And I think a lot of it has to do with the initial shutdown and the way we have attempted to control the interaction between people. Unfortunately, you cannot control everyone. I mean, we have 8,000 to 10,000 residents with almost 5,600 homes. And I can tell you, I would not want Matt Permuth's job for $1 million because every time he puts out a notice that we are going to open something or not open something, he gets phone calls and emails in mass. And trying to answer those and trying to satisfy everyone, it's just basically impossible. And Preston, I am not attempting to put down your question. You have a valid concern. You're not in the minority. I would say the community in some respects is split a third, a third, a third. A third wants everything open, a third wants nothing open, and a third basically wants it open in a slow manner, which would what we've attempted to do and meet the needs of individuals. So we are monitoring it. It is monitored on a continual basis of what is going on and what is going on within the state. And if we have to modify different aspects of the opening and pull back a little, there is nothing that would prevent us, and we would not have a thought of not doing it if we felt it was necessary.
Well, our governor is very swayed by business demands, so he's rushing to open everything. But I just want to cite an incident in Lancaster 1 where a resident had a renovation contractor in, and one of the members of that firm contacted the coronavirus. So, you know, I know we can't prevent or go out and monitor all these small businesses, but I just throw that out as a caution to people. You know, we don't think it can happen. Yes, it can happen. So.
Yes, it can, and as has been stated by the medical experts, just because you have been vaccinated does not mean that you cannot get the coronavirus. So I would say probably the majority of people, and I may be wrong, but the majority of people in this room have been vaccinated. We still require masks to be worn in these facilities at all times when you're in the public or you're having a large meeting such as this. We are trying to take the precautions that we can, and I think that the reason we're stopping taking temperatures is we open Kings Point. Those resources are needed at other locations within Kings Point to monitor what is going on. We opened up karaoke to 50 people. The community basically asked, well, if you're only going to allow 50 or 75 people, would you consider having 2 karaokes, which is much more arduous to monitor. That room where karaoke is held holds over 220 people on a normal basis. We're only opening it up to 50%. That is why we didn't change, Preston, the current capacity constraints on any room. This theater...
We are way over the 3 minutes.
So hopefully, Preston, I've answered your question.
Thank you, and I appreciate the efforts of the board and Vesta.
Alan, I know we are in the middle of April, and I know that they're still working on the financials. Do you have anything to report? That takes me to the President's report. First things first, a number of you attended a meeting on Wednesday with the Master Board. on their amendments, and after the amendments were discussed, they offered to turn it into a town hall and open forum, which they did. I was having a conversation with the master board as president of Tremont One, and I inadvertently referred to Liz Argott, that she basically, and it was interpreted by some people in the room that I was pointing a finger at Liz Argott. Immediately upon going to my seat, I told Liz that if she had interpreted it that I was pointing the finger, that she had done something, that I apologized to her. It was very good that I apologized to Liz personally, but I feel I owe Liz a public apology. And Liz, I did not intend to point you out as the cause. I know during that period of time you had recused yourself from many things that were going on with the landscapers. So I wasn't trying to point it to you specifically, and I would like to take this opportunity to publicly apologize for any inference that was taken that I was blaming you or you in any manner for being the cause of some of the issues regarding irrigation or regarding the landscape contract. So I wanted to publicly apologize to you. That was not my intention, and I told you that shortly thereafter, but I believe the public had the right to hear that apology publicly. The other thing is, and it was discussed partially with the meeting with the master, and Jim and Jero, who was the president of the master, and I talked after the meeting. This community has to start coming together. We have to put our personalities behind us. Yes, everybody has issues, whether it is irrigation, whether it is a sign sitting on the gazebo. But if you're not a part of the problem, become a part of the solution. There are so many areas in this community that we agree that let's learn to be civil to each other and talk to each other. There are certain areas we may never agree on, but I'm quite sure in this community there are many areas that we do agree on. And the possibility of sitting down and discussing issues that may be confronted to the community, I think is something we should do. I think we should show our federal government that we can get along and we can negotiate things out as a community and not follow their aspect of this is my stance and I'm not changing it, this is your stance and you're not changing it. I think it's time for this community to start talking to each other and communicating with each other and working together to find resolutions to these problems. The Federation is offered to hold meetings as long as those meetings can leave the contentious issues aside and start working on the issues that we can come to consensus on and finding consensus for things that are hitting this community and facing this community. And I think it's about time we did it. I think for long enough we have bickered and fought and we don't do it. We need to find common ground, and I think there is common ground in this community. A lot of people, and I read Nextdoor the same as probably a lot of you do. There's a lot of complaints that go on the Nextdoor. Instead of Nextdoor being used as a constructive tool, it's used as a denigration tool to pick on individuals, pick on ideas, pick on thoughts. It is kind of bad that when the Federation holds an election, that the candidates that are on the board run unopposed. We have 9 districts with 5,525 homes, And we can't find candidates to run for the Federation Board, but I will tell you, we can find 5,000 people that want to fight and argue about what the Federation Board does, or what the Master Board does, or what Vesta does, or First Service does. I would only ask the residents of this community, instead of bickering and fighting and pointing the finger, that if you have a question, go to the person that should know. Stop listening to the rumors and gossips, and let's start working together. It is very difficult. I know the Master put out for people to be on their committees, as have we. I know they have struggled to get people for their committees, but this is our community. This Federation Board works for the whole community, as the Master Board attempts to work for the whole community. So do we. We're 9 individuals, and I can only speak for the Federation Board. We're 9 individuals that we would like to retire too. I can tell you that the Federation Board members, with the committees which they hold, spend a great deal of their personal time trying to improve the community. The same as the Master, the same as other committees. And to point fingers at them, or to accuse them of trying to do things, I think that has to stop. We're volunteers, and it doesn't seem anybody wants to step up to volunteer, and it just gets a little tiring to hear the complaints all the time, yet don't hear any solutions. And I would only ask that we try and work together a little bit better, all of us. There is none of us that are perfect. I started my report with an apology to Liz Argot. I am by no way perfect. I didn't intend to offend Liz, and I realized that my comments were taken incorrectly, and I apologized for it. Hopefully that will be an example to other individuals within the community that if you do something wrong, nobody's perfect, everybody makes a mistake. Let's work together, folks. And with that, I will end my report and turn the meeting over to Good and Welfare. And if anybody has any Good and Welfare, all they have to do is walk up to the mic. And Mr. Bardell, you have nothing on Good and Welfare? You have done so much work for this community with the emergency squad, and I know you're working on hurricane preparedness with Liz, who is the head of that committee of health and safety. Nothing to report? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Mike.
I think it's all been adequately covered for right now.
Well, then, if there is no other business, I will accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Rick. I accept your second. Any objection? And we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for your time.